What's up? How you doing? Here we are. Beautiful day today. Beautiful day. Perfect temperature. I want to say there's a bit of a slight breeze, maybe 0.37 miles per hour west to east. So got a bunch of things here. Today is steak night, and I have some octopus. Also, I have peppers, which I want to put them in my pan here and grill them up. Grill up the peppers. I also have some radish. I love radish. Corn. A lot of corn here. Fresh corn. I have beer, Pacifico. We're gonna have one. Drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. The obvious things, you know. Stay home. If you're gonna drink, stay home. Don't wrap yourself around a tree or a telephone pole or take somebody out. Anyway, moderation. Enjoy moderation. You drink too much, feels like radiation sickness, right? So we have bread here. Fresh bread. And cheese from Switzerland. This is imported from Switzerland. Red Witch. About $26 a pound for this. I put the beer in the freezer for, I don't know, 30 minutes. Get it nice and cold. I'm not a fan of warm beer. I don't drink a lot of beer, but occasionally when I have a beer, I want it to be cold. Reminds me of Shawshank. It could be Shanshark, but it's not. It's Shawshank Redemption. Reminds me of that movie. Anyway, Pacifico. That is very good beer. Highly recommend it, but I recommend it in moderation. So I'm going to try some of this cheese right now. I like cheese. I like good cheese. I don't like cheap cheese, like American cheese. Not a fan of that. I mean, I like it, you know, when you do a grilled cheese sandwich, but it's not good cheese. I've never had this before, first time. It's got that cheese smell. And like I said, imported from Switzerland. I got it at the French place. French people know about cheese. Cut off the edges. I don't know what. Oh man, I couldn't have done that if I tried. I have one of those chimney things that I light charcoal up in, about that big. It's all the way over there. I shot it, went right in. Not bad. It's pretty good cheese. I highly recommend this. Very good. Very good. I know when people are dating, I don't know, the big thing is to go out on a picnic. And somebody will pack cheddar cheese and wine. I don't know why cheddar cheese and wine go together so well, but you know, I'm not a big wine guy. I'm not a big booze guy at all. A little bit now and then with your dinner. I want to be able to find my room at night. I don't want to have so much where I'm searching the house to find my room. But Cheddar cheese and wine. A lot of people say, I went out on a date, we went out on a picnic, and she brought cheddar cheese and wine. Now, is there nothing better than cheddar cheese? Can't you get some of this nice Switzerland cheese? Felt something. Could have been a fly. George McFly. You know what I'm doing? I'm gonna cut tape here or video, and I'm gonna bring some of this to my wife. She's inside watching television right now. Doesn't want to miss a beat, so I'm gonna cut a little bit because she likes cheese. I don't want to eat the whole thing, and then I explained to her how good it was, and then she'll say, well, why didn't you bring me some? Because it was so good I couldn't stop eating. So I'm going to stop eating now. And I'll be back. All right, I am back. So I have the octopus right here, full octopus. Look at that. Very smart animal. I've seen videos where these things escape and they know how to get out of it. You know, they're in a tank on a ship. They get out of the tank and they squeeze through a tiny opening on the side of the ship, go back into the ocean. Very smart. So we're gonna, it's all clean. I'm gonna put it in the water, boil it for 40 minutes, and then I'm gonna probably grill it, or I may fry it. But for now, we're gonna boil it. Look at that. I'll boil it in the kitchen. Too much going on here for me to do it out here. Usually I do it out here, but I'm gonna do it in the kitchen. All right, I am back. I washed my hands. I put the octopus to boil. I washed the dish. Very slimy, very slippery. Tough to get a hold on that octopus. I always had this idea in my head when I was a kid, and I would go into the deep waters. I always thought I'd be swimming, and then an octopus would reach around and wrap the tentacles around my legs and start pulling me down. I don't know how strong those things are. Maybe the big ones can wrap you up like a mummy, but the small ones, I don't know. And then they have that dye, that ink that shoots out. You get all disoriented. You come out looking like, you know, I don't know what color that is, blue Hulk. So anyway, I got the steaks nice and clean here. Look at that. These are prime. You could eat choice, but not as tender. Prime is nice and tender. So we're gonna add a little bit of salt. That's all you need. You need salt. All right. If this was something like lamb, so mama's boy going home, get a little kiss from their mama on the cheek with the loud engine there. Anyway, if this was something like lamb, I would cover it with all kind of stuff. But meat from a steer, a bull, a cow, whatever, you don't need any of that. You just need some good salt from Pakistan, Himalayan salt. They go down into the caves and they remove these big blocks, bring them back up, and then we buy it. But yeah, a lot of people, they want to disguise this stuff. They want to add this, that. You don't need any of that. Salt. If you want to put pepper, maybe a little bit of garlic, that's fine. But you know, it's up to you. It's fine for me. For you, whatever you want. Me, I prefer salt. And later on, I can add some pepper as well. But right now, you know, salt. A lot of people, they add all this stuff, sauces and spices, and you get the steak back and it doesn't taste like a steak anymore. You think you've improved the flavor? I don't think so. Anyway, put plenty, because these are thick cuts. Now we flip it over and repeat, just like the shampoo says on the instructions. Rinse, repeat, and then clean. Very nice, very nice. All right. Wipe my hands down a little bit. I'm gonna go inside and wash my hands, and then peel the corn, do the peppers, and then I'm gonna do the steak. All right, I'll be right back. I will be back. Arnold Schwarzenegger couldn't say I'll be back. He argued with James Cameron, who I'm not a big fan of. I'm not a big fan of James Cameron. Not a fan. I don't know, it just seems like a prick. You know, seems like a prick. Everybody can seem that way, but he seems to be that way a little bit more. So James Cameron said to him, you're gonna say I'll be back, not I will be back. Too much. He goes, I wrote it, I'm the writer, I don't tell you how to act, which is a funny line. James Cameron said to Arnold Schwarzenegger, he said to him, I don't tell you how to act, don't tell me how to write. And I'm thinking, is that really the correct thing to say to Arnold? I mean, he can't act. Can't act. Maybe if you told him how to act, the movie would have been a lot better. Although in that movie, you don't need to act. Just move around like a crazy person, start shooting things up. Anyway, I will be back. All right, I am back. Gonna peel the corn. Gonna peel the corn. Man, these little fruit flies have discovered there's something sweet here, and they're arriving here to check out the corn. Hold on, I have an idea. Hold on. All right, now I am back. I have a candle here that's made from cedar wood, rosemary, peppermint, citronella, and lemongrass. It's for mosquitoes, but I'm pretty sure it works on little fruit flies as well. See that? All natural. There's no chemicals in here. Hear that? Oh, very fresh. So I have a Zippo lighter. See that? I carry this in case, you never know. Sometimes you go out barbecuing, you need to light it. Sometimes you may get stranded somewhere. You never know. You want to stay warm at night, you may gather a little bit of lumber and light it up and stay warm. So you're always very important you carry one of these. And I'm going to tell you a story that made no sense to me. And I love Zippo. Look at that. See that? You can smell it already. Very lemongrass, cedar. I don't want to have it near the paper. They're already gone. There was a few of them, maybe like 4 or 5 of them flying around here, getting on my nerves. So anyway, I have a story I want to mention. So in the movie First Blood, I am a big fan of First Blood. In case you're tuning in for the first time, I did not appreciate the other movies after that, 2, 3, 4, 5, a bit ridiculous. I mean, you know, but First Blood, the hour and a half, that movie spoke to me. I loved the whole loner thing about it, the Tarzan aspect, you know. And, you know, there's a few things that made no sense, but, you know, it's a movie. I'm going to mention one thing that I was thinking about just this morning because of a Zippo lighter. So in the movie, Rambo escapes that tunnel system. Everybody thought he died in there, but he didn't, because he figured out how to get out of there by the wind drift. He had a little torch going in there. Apparently he found gasoline, which I'm going to speak about in a second. So he gets out of there, and then he jumps on one of those deuce and a halves, which is, I think the guy's name was Robert A. He says, "What's your name?" He's like, "Robert A." He's like, "Robert A, what do you have in the back?" I think he said M60s or something. Meantime, when you see one of the shots pointing into the back of the deuce and a half, it looks empty until it stops. Then there's the weapons are on the back. Oversights, I don't understand. Anyway, so he drives that deuce and a half. No, apparently nobody can stop him. They can't shoot the tires out. They can't do anything. That thing just goes right through like it's a tank. And he gets onto the edge of town, where he runs over a bunch of gas tanks, a bunch of gas pumps. And the gas is coming out of the ground and everything, you know, like a geyser. And then he gets out, and he has a Zippo apparently in his pocket. And he lights it up like that and tosses it. Zippos are windproof, so they don't go out. And he tosses it, and it gets right onto the gasoline, and the whole place ignites. A couple of things on that. First of all, that gas station, the geysers of gasoline going into the air, that comes down too. So the fluid, all that liquid, would have been all over him. I mean, he wasn't that far. That stuff, the mist would have carried right on him. He lights it up. He doesn't ignite. I mean, I would have been like afraid to touch anything that's flammable. He's like, boom, throws it in there. Nothing happens to him. But even if, let's say, nothing happened in terms of fluid getting on him, the problem is the scene before that. He was trapped in a tunnel where the bottom half of his body was submerged in water. Submerged in water. The Zippo was in his pocket, in his pants. And there's a scene where he's going through this, you know, tunnel full of water, and the rats are on his back, and he's pulling them off. This thing, if it gets wet like that, will not light. First of all, the fluid inside, I mean, it's not sealed. It's a very basic design. Comes out like that. It's kind of like a cotton material. You wet that. The flint is in here. You can put a new flint by unscrewing the screw here. And then this has no seal. Not loose seal, no seal. And you take this and you just put it in. Water getting in here would overwhelm whatever little fuel, whatever little Zippo fluid you had in here. And yet, very reliable. He takes it out, he does one of these things, it lights right up. That would never happen in real life. Never happen in real life. So, you know, in real life, he would have been like trying there for like, you know, a long time, and they would have caught up with him, and they would have said, "What are you trying to do here? What are you, an arsonist?" And they would have arrested him. But, you know, and he went all out. He went all out, even though the cops were wrong at the beginning. They harassed him. They had no business arresting him. But after what he did, you know, Colonel Troutman in Rambo Part 2 says to him, "I tried everything I could to get you out of here, or to prevent you from going in here in the first place, I guess." How would you have done that? I mean, he basically went through a whole town and destroyed it. How was the court going to look at that and go, "Yeah, well, you won the Congressional Medal of Honor. We're going to overlook this whole incident"? Best thing for him to have done, and then you wouldn't have had a movie. But, you know, if the cop is going to be an ass and harass you by trying to escort you out of town, then you end up leaving. You end up leaving. You couldn't find your friend, which I had a personal experience that happened to me, identical. I was searching for somebody who was a really good friend of mine. Back then, you know, when I was looking, there was no internet like there is now. You can find people. So I was searching for many years. Really good friend of mine. We lost touch, and I just couldn't find him. You know, it wasn't in the yellow pages, wasn't in the white pages back then, and I couldn't find him. And then one day, in recent years, found him, and I was very excited. And I sent an email, a message. It had, you know, all the information where I found, you know, the family and everything. And I waited, and I didn't get a response. And then finally, I did get a response because I sent a second inquiry, and they told me that he had died, and he had died 8 years before I had contacted them. So they didn't tell me how he died, but you know, I'm assuming, you know, there's only one way a young man at that age would go, other than an accident, and I don't think it was an accident, but yeah, so I had a situation where I was searching for a very good friend of mine for many years, off and on. I wasn't like, you know, searching all the time, but every time I would think about it, I would, you know, get on the internet, I would look, and nothing would pop up. And then finally something did pop up, and I was so happy that I finally found my friend, finally found him. I sent the message. I thought it was going to be him responding. I think it was his father. And then he, you know, I asked, you know, what happened, and then he said he passed away, and then he asked me who was I, who you, he says, that you're asking. And I told him, me and him were very good friends years ago. Matter of fact, people thought that we were brothers. Everywhere we went together, they, you know, first thing they would say, "You guys brothers?" And we would say, "Oh, no. First few times we heard it, we, you know, we didn't know how to react to it, you know, like, no. But then it happened quite often. You know, we'd go to the mall or something, whatever, any place we'd go, first thing you'd hear is like, "You guys related? You guys brothers?" And then we'd kind of laugh about it. But yeah, so I was late. And you know, I wish that I wasn't late, but I was late. So that's what happened in the movie First Blood. He goes to find Delmore Barry, and I guess Delmore Barry's wife, I think that's who she is, the lady with the clothes hanging him up, and that's his little girl. She says to him, "He ain't here." And John Rambo says, "Well, when will he be back?" And she says, you know, that he died. And he says, "Died how?" And she says, "All that orange stuff that's spreading around. I guess the cancer ate him down to nothing. I could lift him off the sheets." And then he says, "Very sorry." He hands her the pictures and all that stuff that he had, and he starts walking away, and she's just looking at the photo like this. Yeah, so I can understand a situation like that when you're looking for somebody many years, and then you finally find them. You're this close, and then you find out they're not alive anymore. So yeah, but anyway, in the movie, had he just said, "Okay, I'm out of this town," you know, but you know, I mean, it gets on your nerves. You have the law enforcement guy there manhandling you out of town, like it's his private property. You know, I know it gets on your nerves. So you know, I mean, you can't leave that alone either. You know, you're there, you're not bothering anybody. You have every legal right to be in that town. You're not causing any problems. You just want something to eat. That's all he wanted. Guy says to him, "Yeah, there's a diner about 30 miles up the road." And then he says, "Is there a law against me having something to eat here, or getting something to eat here?" He's like, "Yeah, me." And then Rambo says, "Why are you pushing me?" And Teasel says, "What did you say?" That's an annoying line. "What did you say?" First of all, why are you giving him an attitude, you know? So, and then everything goes downhill from that point on. They treat him like crap. But yeah, there's a bunch of mistakes in that movie, but this thing was drenched in water for a long time. I mean, what, you think he really sat there and he dried it out and then he added gasoline and then he closed it up again? I don't think so. So, yeah, big fan of that movie. Big fan of Deer Hunter. But they gave him a hard time. A lot of people don't know that Teasel was a Korean War veteran. You could see it in the movie if you pay attention to his desk. There's a little plaque there that says it, but you have to pay attention, otherwise you miss it. And so the whole thing is that he was jealous of the Vietnam veterans that had come back and they were getting all the attention while the Korean War veterans were basically ignored. And so he had a little bit of anger towards Vietnam veterans. Although you don't really get a sense of that. I mean, you know, in the movie they don't really play that up that much. You're kind of wondering why they're giving this guy a hard time. You know, well, they explain it by saying, we don't like people like you hanging around here. Before you know it, there's a bunch of you hanging around. You know, so they didn't want that. They wanted the town to be quiet and boring. They didn't want to make it some kind of hangout for a bunch of Vietnam veterans that are hippies, you know. So, anyway. You see this husk, whatever, you know, this hairy stuff. I knew this old man. I knew this old man. When I knew him, he was old. So, but he was a World War II veteran, and he would tell me that when they were younger, you know, like 10 years old, 11 years old, they would take corn and dry out the husk, dry out all this hairy stuff. They would dry it out, let it sit around for a couple of days, and then they would roll it up into this stuff, I think. They would roll it up when everything was nice and dry, and they would smoke it. You know, I don't know. That's what he would tell me. He would say that they would smoke this stuff. Unnecessary, but gets messy. I know there's a better way. Like, I think you take a newspaper or some kind of paper and just remove it like that. It comes right off. And I'll tell you, in the movie Rambo, the character Galt, oh man, that guy looks like an ass. I mean, just the appearance, you know you're gonna have issues with him. He's one of those, like, you know, if you had a teacher that looked like that, or somebody who was like your boss and looked like that, you know you're not gonna get along with that guy. And I think that's why they picked that face for that role. They said, you look like somebody who's annoying in real life. We're gonna stick you in this role. And he was. He was shooting at Rambo. Like, that's attempted murder. Rambo's on the cliff. He's helpless. He can't do anything. And this guy has a rifle and he's shooting at him. You know, and then he tried to shoot him when Rambo escapes out of the police station and he goes into the main street there. This Gold guy is ready to aim. If it wasn't for Teasel, you know, pushing his arm and getting the rifle up in the air, that bullet would have gone into the crowd. What a moron. You know, I was happy when Rambo beat him up downstairs in the basement there in the police station. And there's another thing. Was it really that necessary that Rambo had to get a shave and a shower before he went to visit the judge? Really? Yes. Hi, my daughter. You know, I mean, it wasn't like he had anything big going on anyway. He had, 3 days of growth on his face. He smelled like an animal, really? I don't think so, you know. I mean, he didn't look that bad. He smelled like an animal. I've been by homeless people that look a lot worse, and they don't smell like animals, you know. Some of them do, but Rambo... And since when... Go home to your mama with that car. Since when is it the police officer's duty to bathe somebody they arrest? The guy that they arrest can't go take his own shower. You have to go wash him, you know, and with a fire hose, and then you have to shave him. You can't tell him, you know, there's a Gillette right there, and we have some Noxzema shaving cream. We recommend you shave, but it's up to you. Since when? I mean, I've never heard of anybody getting arrested and the police give them a bath and a shave with a straight blade on top of things, you know? I mean, just get the easy, disposable, you know, if you don't want to spend the money, Bic. They get the guy there, he's sharpening it up, got the stone out and everything. I mean, it's a bit over the top. I know it's dramatic, but in real life, there's no police station that would give you a bath. They may tell you to take one. They may say, go, you know, the showers are over there. Here's a soap, here's ivory. You know, we'll give you some Prel for your hair. If you want to shave, give you a nice Gillette, or what's the other one? Gillette and Schick. I don't use Schick. I like Gillette. Pen Gillette. Okay. Yeah, that's not a bad smell. Like it's kind of like minty lemongrass. But everything's gone. Had a few flies there, they're gone. Yeah, I mean, if Rambo kept his mouth shut and then went to court and he told the public defender, you know, listen, these police officers, they harassed me. I wasn't doing anything. I was just going through the town. I was looking for a place to eat. The sheriff over here made me get into his car, and he drove me in a direction I didn't want to go. And, you know, and then they harassed me in the police department. They made me take a bath. I didn't want to take a bath. They made me take a bath with cold water. Then they pulled out a blade. It gave me flashbacks. I had an emotional breakdown. He would have gotten off. He may have even sued the city. And, you know, he would have gotten a few bucks, and he would have gotten a whole, you know, gotten a new wardrobe. But yeah, those kind of movies speak to me. I like the whole loner aspect with the Tarzan thing in it, you know. All right. Now, I will clean up a little bit here. I will light the fire. I will be back for closing arguments or whatever. One thing I wish they had done before Brian Dennehy died, I wish they had shot a well-written Rambo, because, you know, the last one was a little bit, you know, light in terms of plot. You know, the one where he goes into Mexico and rescues his some kind of daughter. That was a little bit light. It was short. I don't know, you know, here's the thing with Sylvester Stallone. I don't know what he thinks about his fans, but all of them have attention deficit disorder. Why can't you make a movie that's over 2 hours so we can sit and enjoy the plot? You know, build up on a good plot, pull us in, let us see a movie that we can enjoy. What's this snappy stuff? Hour and a half, 90 minutes. Rambo, the last one was like an hour and a half. Rocky IV, an hour and a half. Meantime, they had footage that they left out, which was good footage. It's at the beginning. There's a really bad storm that goes through the area where Rambo lives, and Rambo gets in there and rescues a bunch of people, because that's what he's going to do anyway. So they left that part out in America, in the U.S. They showed it overseas in Europe. You know, they showed Rambo rescuing, and I knew that scene existed because you know, there's a certain website that you go to and it gives you all the background information, and they had released images of that scene about 8 or 9 months before the movie was released. So I knew that scene existed. And then when it came for us here to see that movie, I go in and I'm looking for the scene because I knew it was the opening scene, and it's not there. And I go, he did it again. He said, yeah, they can't follow this complicated plot. We got to cut it down to 90 minutes, maybe 100 minutes. I want to see a movie that I enjoy. I want it to be over 2 hours. Now, if it's Star Wars, I'm not even gonna go see, because Star Wars is like the worst movie ever made. But let's say somebody pulls me there to see Star Wars. I expect Star Wars to be like 20 minutes, because the rest of it is awful. Anyway, all right. I'm gonna clean up here, and I wanna put the peppers, grill them up. I love these peppers. Look at that. All right, I will be back. All right, I am back. We are done with dinner, and right now it's 12:08 Sunday morning. Pomegranate, 100% pomegranate juice. Come on, go home. Go home to your mama and get a nice kiss on the cheek. So I'm a big fan of pomegranate juice. I drink the juice, I eat the fruit. It's my favorite. I could eat 3 of those. Oh, little cat. This cat, slowly, it's getting closer and closer to me. It started off, it would be like 30 feet away, and I would move a little bit and it would take off. Then it dropped down to like 25, 22, 21 feet, went to 19, went to 15, went to 8, and now comes right by me, like about that far from me, runs by, takes a look back, and very friendly now. So we have 4 cats out here. They're stray cats. They don't belong to anyone. I help them out occasionally with some food. And they're getting very friendly now. So anyway, love pomegranate. Delicious. Peaceful night. Very quiet. I mean, occasionally a car goes by, but it feels nice out. It reminds me when I was a kid, I would sit in the back of the house. We had a like a porch, and at nighttime in the summertime, we'd all sit back there eating watermelon. That's another fruit. I can't get enough of watermelon, especially when it's just right. You know that flavor it has when it's just right. Sometimes you buy it and it's a little bit off. You go home, you put it in the fridge, and then about 4 or 5 hours later, you sit down to eat it, and you're a little bit disappointed because it's not the way it should be. And then there's other times where it's like nice and flavorful, crisp, cold, perfect. So I used to buy 1 watermelon every night. Come back from work, I'd stop at the supermarket that was open 24 hours back then. I'd go in and I'd get a nice watermelon. And then a lot of times I didn't have time to let it get cold, so I would eat it immediately. Especially when it's nice and hot out, and humidity I can't stand. I can't stand humidity, not as much as I can't stand Star Wars or lamb, but I can't stand humidity. And we would have humidity, and I would open up the windows, and the air from the outside would refuse to come inside. It was so humid inside that the air didn't want to mix. So I would get fans, and I would put them on the window. One fan would suck the air from the room out, and the other fan would bring the cooler air in, and then I'd go to sleep. My father, every year, he'd say the same thing. Next year, if we're healthy, we're going to get central AC. And then the following year would come and he would talk to somebody from Sears, get a price, and they would tell them a price. They'd be like, "Ah, it's a little bit high, a little bit high." And then I'd say, "Okay, if we can't get AC for the entire house, how about for the bedrooms so we could sleep?" And my father's like, "Ah, I don't want to do that. I want to do the whole house." So it was all or nothing. And I didn't get AC until I was like, up there in age. Cat running right by me. Finally, they decided to get AC. And they came up with an idea. They said, "Why don't we get a big air conditioning unit, put it in the kitchen, put it on high, and then leave the doors open, bedroom doors, all that, and it'll cool down the entire house." I go, "Oh, that's not going to happen. That would never happen. It just doesn't have the strength to keep the whole house cool just because you opened up the doors to the bedrooms." So they tried that. They bought this AC, and the kitchen was nice and cold. You'd get in the kitchen nice and comfortable. But if you went maybe 15 feet further down the hall, it was warm. So then they were committed. Now they said, "Okay, now we bought one for the kitchen. Let's just buy a couple more." So we went and I got one. For the first time, I got one. And I would keep mine full blast. Lowest temperature possible, full blast. And I would sleep like a baby. Or I would sleep like a cat. I'd get in bed, always had a nice blanket, nice and comfortable. See, for me, I want the room to be cool or cold, but I want a blanket. I'm not those guys that wants the room to be warm and I got a sheet on me. I'm not, like I'm at the Buddhist temple. I want to have a blanket on me, and I want the room to be like 60 degrees. Man, I love pomegranate. I know I mentioned it, but I love it. I love it. I eat a lot of pomegranate, a lot of watermelon. Very few people can match me when it comes to pomegranate and watermelon. Very few. You bring them here at this table, I will out-eat them on watermelon any day of the week. Any day. So anyway, ended up getting the AC, and from that point on I slept so good. I remember I had difficulties the summer of '88. Very humid, very stuffy, Be sitting there and watching Hawaii Five-0. I remember Hawaii Five-0 would come on television Sunday nights, 2 episodes back to back, and I'd watch them both. It was like from 12 to 2. And then I would be like, "Oh, I can't sleep in here." I'd open up the window. The screen. I'd pull the screen up. The window was always open, even in the wintertime. The windows were always open. And then I would stick my head out, and I'd feel the nice cooler air outside, but mosquitoes would find you, so you couldn't have the windows open without the screens. That didn't make a difference anyway. But yeah, I'm not a fan of humidity. I've actually slept in the desert here in California, Death Valley. It was like 127 in the daytime. I don't know what it was at nighttime, but me and my wife, we slept in the car in Death Valley one night, and I had the doors open. I'm surprised a snake didn't come in there, to find a way in, because the doors were open. I wasn't even thinking about snakes. And then at one point, this 18-wheeler woke us up. It's like it went by. It was so loud. But I slept like a kitten. Fell asleep right away, even though it was like a hot night. It was just so dry that I realized that it's the humidity that keeps you uncomfortable. Disgusting. So it is a beautiful night tonight, and on nights like this, what I think about is I wish I had a boat with 2 Mercury engines in the back, and I would take it deep into the not in, but I would go deep out on the Pacific Ocean, and I'd stop the boat and stare at the stars, you know, just relax there, maybe have some cantaloupe, hopefully bump into an island, uninhabited, maybe get off there. You know how it is, creepy at night on an uninhabited island, the water, and then you get off and you don't know who's there. You know, you get off the boat, go in, maybe eat a coconut, a couple of steaks, got that tropical breeze blowing by. I wish I had a boat. My father wanted a boat. Every year he'd say, next year, if everything goes well, I'm gonna buy a boat and go fishing. And then the following year would come and he would say, you know, a little bit pricey this year, the boats, but next year, if we're doing okay, I'm gonna get a boat. Never got a boat. I'd love to get a boat. Go home, sleep over there in your basement with your mom. But yeah, I'd like to get a nice boat. Even the ones that look like, I don't even know what they call these barges or whatever they are. They look like balconies, like you're on a porch. They have those tubes underneath, stainless steel. They're welded, and they have like rows of seats. Even one of those is fine for me. But I'd really like something with, you know, speed. Something that could reach about 70 knots. There you go. $70 knots, if you need it. I mean, I wouldn't be going like that. I'd be traveling at around 30 knots. 30 knots, go deep, do a little fishing at night, grab a couple of, I don't know what's out there, porgies, clean them, rinse them with some nice cold water, and then grill them. Stay on the boat. I mean, where are you going to go, right? And then continue on. Just continue on. Yeah, I knew this old lady years ago. She had a boat, a little boat, like, you know, like 15-footer. And one day she said, "You want to go out and take a look around in the ocean?" I said, "Sure." So I got in, and she went all the way. It seemed far to me when I was a kid, and I said, "How deep is it here?" And she goes, "Oh, it's about 10 feet." And I go, "Wow, 10 feet. That's deep." I think about it now, 10 feet's not that deep. Spent a lot of time in the ocean when I was a kid. Good times. Love that show, Good Times. Bernadette was very, very, very attractive. Very attractive. Bernadette Stannis. And I mentioned her before in other videos, but Bernadette is attractive even today. Today in 2024. That sounds like a flat tire. But yeah, today Bernadette is very attractive. She's got to be, I don't know, almost 70. But she looks younger than that. It's a Zippo. Like I said before, I have Zippos in case, you know, I go barbecuing somewhere in the desert. I want to start it up. Worst thing you can do is go somewhere like you want to barbecue and you don't have a flame. And believe me, doing it with friction, just taking two sticks and you know, rubbing them like on another stick. or not another stick, but two sticks, so you have a platform with a groove in it and a little cutout, and then you have a bigger stick, and you go back and forth creating friction, and that works, but I mean, it takes a lot of practice and a lot of energy. So what you do is you develop a little ember, and then that rolls off, and you have dry leaves or dry sawdust or something, you know, feathering a piece of wood. You take that and you start blowing on it, and then the smoke starts, and then it ignites, and then you add stuff, whatever you have, you know, twigs. But you're gonna spend half your time trying to light a fire. But if you have a Zippo, you know, or anything, you know, those long things that they use on barbecues, anything like that, ferro rod. Very quiet. I don't want to wake up the neighborhood. Everybody's lights, every house, they're all off. I'm the only one out here talking. And if not for the camera, right? I mean, literally, I'm talking to myself right now. I know it's somebody listening right now on the other side on YouTube. It sounds normal, but to me right now, it's like I'm talking to myself. Like I'm crazy, right? Sitting here just mumbling. Now, if I remove the camera and I'm sitting out here just, you know, animated, talking, somebody from across there looking at me from their window, maybe with binoculars, some creepy person, they'd say, that guy is crazy. He's talking to himself again. Had a neighbor, and he would get up at like 1 a.m. or something, and I could see him because the window to the kitchen, it didn't have a curtain, right? And he had a toothbrush in his hand. He would put a ton of toothpaste on it, put it in his mouth, and it looked to me like he had a file in there. He was like really hard, and I'm like, wow, that guy's got some crazy strength when it comes to cleaning his teeth. He's gonna tear out his gums. So I don't know. He was brushing his teeth with anger. Shouldn't do that. When I was young, I had these neighbors that lived diagonally across from my room. And I remember when I was in school, and they lived, you know, until after I got out of high school, but when I was in school, sometimes I would wake up, you know, you gotta use the bathroom, sometimes, it'd be like 4 o'clock in the morning. First thing I would do is I would look out the window, and I would see their kitchen light was always on. And sometimes at 4 o'clock in the morning, I would see the two of them. They had a table facing out towards my way, big window, and I could see them drinking coffee. I'm like, they're up drinking coffee. It's 4 o'clock, 4:30. And they had a Winnebago. And sometimes you'd look in the back there, and the Winnebago was there for months at a time. And then other times, they would go on a trip. They'd be gone like for a month or two. So. Anyway, what else? That's about it. I'm in a bit of a craving to see Tarzan. I'm a big fan of Tarzan. I can relate to that, you know, character. One time, true story here, I was at a house, and next door, the neighbor, they had a rhesus monkey as a pet. They had a collar around the neck, they had a chain, and the monkey would sit on a branch, and I would go really close, and the monkey would try and, like, it looked like he wanted to get me. You know, he would get all angry, he'd show me the teeth, and I would get a little bit closer, and the monkey would go nuts. So one day the neighbor who owned the monkey, he came out, and he goes, gotta be careful, you know, the monkey, you know, he could lunge on you and could get violent. And I said, yeah, I don't go beyond this point here because I know how far the chain reaches, so I only go to the point where if he did run at me, the chain would yank him back. And he goes, all right, I'm just letting you know. He goes, and don't feed the monkey anything. I go, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't have anything to feed it with. So, but yeah, that monkey was angry. And funny thing, anger and happiness have the same reaction on the face. Both emotions make a person show their teeth. When you smile or when you're angry, you do the same exact thing with your mouth. You show your teeth. I never understand the whole thing about smiling in pictures, because if it's artificial, what's the point of that, you know? I mean, you're creating a fake image and you're forcing yourself. And a lot of people, they don't look right when they force a smile. It's one thing if, you know, like you go to the DMV, you need to get a license and they say a funny joke and then you laugh and then they hit the button and they capture that and they go, oh, that's a good smile. But when they say, oh, you got to smile a little bit, why aren't you smiling? Then you want to tell them, because a fake smile looks like you're a con man. So just let people look naturally into the camera and snap their pictures. Why do we have to show our smile? And not only that, maybe they should have a joke book where they go, okay, get ready, I'm going to make you smile. And, you know, knock, knock, who's there? And then you hear the whole, and then you smile. But never been a fan of that, because smiling without real emotion makes you look like a serial killer. Noisy, man. I remember in my young days, you know, second grader, third grader, you know, those years, first grader, I would have the windows open in my room watching Saturday morning cartoons. They don't have that anymore. Now, it doesn't matter because you can get cartoons anytime, but back then they had Saturday morning cartoons. I'd get up, have the windows open, nice fall air would come in. And when it was crispy out, dog barking sounded different. You know, it had a more, I don't know what I can't even describe it. You have to hear it when it's cooler out. And I would hear woo, 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 woo in the distance. And I'd go, where's that coming from? And then I'd look out my window, and way in the distance you could see the earth was kind of hilly. And you could see the houses, rows and rows and rows. This was like maybe 2 or 3 miles away, I could see it. And somewhere from my house in between that 3-mile distance, now it wasn't like 3 miles that I could hear the dog, but I could hear a dog barking, you know, maybe like quarter mile away or something. You would hear woo, 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 woo. And back then when I would look at that hill, I thought it was so far. It really wasn't, like a 20-minute walk. Sometimes I want to look at my teachers, you know, like my the ones I got along with. The ones I didn't get along with, what are you going to do? Go after them and say, yeah, I didn't like you back then. You were, you know, a bit aggressive or whatever. No, I'm not interested in that. I want to see the teachers that I got along with, like first grade teacher. And she may still be alive, although the odds of that are narrowing down. But when I had her, she was very young, so she couldn't have been more than 27, around there. And she had you know, this was a style back then, but she had blue eyeshadow, like really deep, like an ocean on her eyelids. So it was very blue, and you know, a bit of makeup on. And she was very friendly. She would actually give kisses, you know, like if you got something correct, she'd give you a little kiss. Can't do that today. Now, you know, a teacher would get fired for that. But she was very friendly, and I remember the across the hall teacher every once in a while would come in and ask a question, and she had, I don't even know what those things are. You know, they look like ornaments on your eyelashes. They're like dry, I don't know what it is, like flaky stuff. And she would come in and she'd had, you know, they would dangle like they were ornaments. And I'm like, where's my father right now to tell her, take 2 full handfuls of water and splash them on your face and get rid of those ornaments. My father would say in the morning when you wake up, rinse your face a couple of times with cold water. Get your eyes nice and clean. But I have since found out that that's a condition that they can't help. You know, no matter how often you wash, those dangling things appear out of nowhere rapidly. I think they have medicine now for that, but back then they didn't, and she would come and she would be blinking her eyes, and those things would be like dangling up and down like puppets. And I was always wondering how my teacher didn't laugh at that. Never commented either. So, but now I haven't seen my kindergarten teacher since maybe about a year after I got out of, I mean, not kindergarten, first grade. About a year after I got out of first grade is the last time I saw her. So if I were to see her today and if she's still alive, I would be shocked, because in my head I have the image of her, of what she looked like when she was 27. She's not going to look like that anymore. And then second grade, I guarantee you that teacher is dead. Because she was old back then. I mean, back then, to me, the way I think of her, I would say she had to be about 60. So I don't think, no. Third grade teacher, I did not like, but she was young. She was about 24 back then. Looked a little bit like Linda Carter. I know a lot of kids used to tease her, you look like Wonder Woman. And then she would play along. Like on the weekend, you'd ask her, what'd you do? She's like, I had to go to LA and film a couple episodes. So I think she's probably alive. I mean, she had, you know, a very beautiful look to her. And now, I'm sure all these years later, I'll be shocked when I see her, if I see her. Fourth grade teacher is still alive. I know for a fact she's alive. Fifth grade teacher is alive. Then I had him, did not like him. I don't know. There's a few other ones from high school that are still living. But I don't know, you know, about all of them. But I do know there are a few that are still alive. So anyway, that's it. What time is it? 12:35. I need more pomegranate. All right, that's it. Go to bed. Maybe have some good dreams. I like good dreams. I hate dreams where I'm stuck on a loop. It just keeps repeating like a broken record or something. I like to have a dream where, you know, maybe I'm like at the top of a mountain or something, and in the middle of a blizzard. Snow's coming down fast, but I have all the survival equipment. I have an axe, I have a knife, I have a fire making equipment, ferro rod, I have a nice tent for 6 people, but it's only me. I need the extra room. Maybe one of those indoor stoves that go inside a tent. You end up dying from carbon monoxide. But I like those kind of dreams. I have weird dreams about flying a lot, you know, where I'm in a plane, like a 747, and we're picking up speed for the takeoff. And I'm looking out the window, I'm like, I don't think we're going to make it. We're running out of runway. You know, and at the last second, just as the runway finishes, the plane just barely makes it up. And now we're flying low through the city. You know, it's like buildings going by and everything, and I'm like, you know, oh, and then the other thing is I noticed that the bridges are coming. You know, that you see these bridges up ahead. Some of my dreams, the bridge is like right here, and the plane is here, and it barely misses the bridge. One time I was having a dream. We're flying very low, and we end up in one of those tunnels, you know, that go underneath the ocean. And we're flying inside a tunnel. I'm like, wow, we actually fit in here, and I could see the plane. The wings are basically this far away from the wall. You know, there's one where we landed on the highway. Strange. Anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.